The Florida Department of Transportation, known as the FDOT, welcomes you to the public hearing for the proposed improvement of State Road 29 from Oil Well Road to State Road 82, extending a distance of approximately 16 miles. FDOT, in cooperation with Collier County and the Collier Metropolitan Planning Organization, or MPO, is conducting a Project Development and Environment, or PD&E study to evaluate improvements to State Road 29 in unincorporated Collier County. The purpose of the PD&E study is to evaluate the need for improvements and provide documented environmental and engineering analyses to assist the FDOT in reaching a decision on the location and conceptual design for improvements to State Road 29. The study is developed in compliance with requirements of the National Environmental Policy Act of 1969, which will qualify future phases of this State Road 29 project for federal funding. The environmental review, consultation, and other actions required by applicable federal environmental laws for this project are being or have been carried out by the FDOT pursuant to 23 United States Code Section 327 and a Memorandum of Understanding dated December 14, 2016, executed by the Federal Highway Administration and FDOT. The FDOT began this PD&E study in June 2007, and the study is scheduled to be completed in the spring of 2019. The purpose of this project is to improve traffic operational conditions along the State Road 29 corridor between Oil Well Road and State Road 82 to meet the following needs: accommodate future growth, reduce truck traffic in downtown Immokalee, correct current design deficiencies, improve mobility and connectivity within the regional transportation network, enhance the economic competitiveness, and improve emergency evacuation capabilities. State Road 29 within the project limits is designated as a Strategic Intermodal System, or SIS, Emerging Highway Corridor. SIS is our state's network of high-priority transportation facilities. Presently, State Road 29 is a two-lane undivided roadway, with one 12-foot travel lane in each direction from Oil Well Road to 13th Street and from West Clock Street New Market Road West to State Road 82. From 13th Street to North 9th Street, State Road 29 is a four-lane divided roadway with two 12-foot travel lanes in each direction. From North 9th Street to West Clock Street New Market Road West, State Road 29 is a two-lane divided roadway with one 12-foot travel lane in each direction and a 14-foot two-way left turn lane. The speed limit within the project limits ranges from 35 to 60 miles per hour. The existing right-of-way varies from approximately 174 feet to 183 feet from Oil Well Road to Seminole Crossing Trail and from 100 to 200 feet from Seminole Crossing Trail to State Road 82. Throughout this PD&E study process, FDOT has looked at many different concepts to widen the existing two lanes of State Road 29 to four lanes through downtown Immokalee, as well as potential new alignments east and west of Immokalee. At each phase of the process, FDOT conducted a public meeting to provide an update on the project's status and to take comments from the public and local agencies. After environmental and engineering analyses and public and agency comments, many of these alternatives were eliminated. The last public meeting was an Alternatives Public Workshop held on November 9, 2017. At that meeting, we asked for your input on three proposed build alternatives within the project limits: Central Alternative 1 Revised, Central Alternative 2, and Central Alternative 2 Revised. Based on your comments and additional environmental and engineering analyses, we selected Central Alternative 2 as the recommended build alternative for State Road 29. Currently, the majority of the State Road 29 project corridor operates at or above the FDOT levels of service C and D adopted for the roadway. Only a small segment of the project corridor from New Market Road to State Road 82 operates below the adopted standard. If no improvements occur to the roadway, the State Road 29 project corridor is anticipated to operate under deficient conditions, with most segments operating at level of service F by the 2045 design year, thus resulting in an unacceptable level of service for the existing roadway. This evening, the FDOT is presenting two alternatives for State Road 29 within the project limits: the recommended build alternative and the no-build alternative. Please review the boards on display this evening showing the alternatives and their impacts in detail. The recommended alternative, or Central Alternative 2, follows existing State Road 29 from the start of the project at Oil Well Road to north of Seminole Crossing Trail. From this point, the recommended alternative travels north from State Road 29 on new alignment along the west side of the Immokalee Regional Airport to avoid impacts to the commercial and industrial areas of Immokalee and the State Farmers Market to the west. It then turns to the northwest, just past Gopher Ridge Road, to parallel Madison Avenue and New Market Road. It then travels along the east side of the Collier Health Services Medical Center and the Florida State University College of Medicine before reconnecting to State Road 29 north of West Clock Street, New Market Road West. The recommended alternative then follows existing State Road 29 from north of West Clock Street, New Market Road West to State Road 82. From Oil Well Road to south of the Kaikasa entrance, the proposed typical section consists of a 4-lane divided roadway with two 12-foot travel lanes in each direction, separated by a 40-foot grassed median, and roadside ditches to handle stormwater runoff. This typical section can be constructed within the existing right-of-way, except for stormwater ponds and floodplain compensation sites. From south of the Kaikasa entrance to north of Seminole Crossing Trail, the proposed typical section consists of a 4-lane divided roadway with two 12-foot travel lanes in each direction, separated by a 30-foot raised median with a 10-foot shared use path on the west side of the roadway from Farm Worker Way to Seminole Crossing Trail. There are roadside ditches to handle stormwater runoff. This typical section can be constructed within the existing right-of-way, with the exception of the canal relocation near Seminole Crossing Trail and stormwater ponds and floodplain compensation sites. The proposed typical section from north of Seminole Crossing Trail to Gopher Ridge Road consists of a 4-lane divided roadway with two 11-foot travel lanes in each direction, separated by a 22-foot raised median with 7-foot buffered bicycle lanes and 6-foot sidewalks in each direction. There is a closed drainage system with curb and gutter. This typical section can be constructed within the existing right-of-way, with the exception of some additional right-of-way needed for a turn lane near 13th Street, plus right-of-way for stormwater ponds. From Gopher Ridge Road to State Road 29, the proposed new alignment typical section consists of a 4-lane divided roadway with two 12-foot travel lanes in each direction, separated by a 30-foot raised median. There are roadside ditches to handle stormwater runoff. This typical section will require 200 feet of right-of-way for the roadway, plus right-of-way for stormwater ponds. The proposed typical sections for State Road 29 from north of West Clock Street to south of State Road 82 consist of a 4-lane divided roadway with two 12-foot travel lanes in each direction, separated by a 30-foot raised median from north of West Clock Street to Experimental Road and a 40-foot grassed median from Experimental Road to south of State Road 82. A 10-foot shared used path is proposed on the west side of the roadway. There are roadside ditches to handle stormwater runoff. The roadway typical section can be constructed within the existing 200 feet of right-of-way, but additional right-of-way will be required for stormwater ponds and floodplain compensation sites. In accordance with Rule 14-97 of the Florida Administrative Code, the proposed improvements will include a median to control the movements or access of turning traffic. State Road 29 falls under Access Management Classification 3. These changes are presented in compliance with Section 335.199 Florida Statutes, Transportation Projects Modifying Access to Adjacent Property. To comply with the National Environmental Policy Act of 1969, or NEPA, FDOT will consider the no-build alternative as a valid alternative throughout the study process. The no-build alternative assumes that no major improvements are made to State Road 29 within the project limits through the design year of 2045, except for routine maintenance. The advantages of the no-build alternative include no construction costs, no disruption to traffic due to construction, no disruption to adjacent property owners due to construction, no right-of-way acquisitions or relocations, and no degradation or disruption of natural and other environmental resources due to construction. Disadvantages of the no-build alternative include increased traffic congestion causing increased road user costs due to travel delay, not consistent with the local transportation plans, increased potential for vehicular crashes due to congested lanes and intersections, increased emergency vehicle response times, increased potential for crashes between vehicles and pedestrians or bicyclists due to inadequate sidewalks and bicycle lanes, and increased vehicle emission pollutants due to higher levels of traffic congestion. This PD&E study evaluated potential environmental impacts associated with the recommended alternative. The evaluations are conducted in accordance with the National Environmental Policy Act of 1969 as amended and other federal requirements. The evaluation considered the effects of the proposed improvements to State Road 29 on land use, threatened and endangered species, wetlands, floodplains, water quality, noise, air quality, contamination, cultural resources, Section 4F resources, farmlands, as well as right-of-way requirements and relocations. Land use in the vicinity of the State Road 29 project corridor includes agricultural, residential, industrial, and commercial activities. Commercial and industrial activities also exist near the Immokalee Regional Airport. Existing and future land uses in the project area will continue to be supported as well as enhanced by the proposed project due to improved access for nearby businesses, residents, and agricultural operations. Threatened and endangered plant and animal species are afforded special protection under the Endangered Species Act of 1973 as amended and Florida statutes. Through evaluation of various datasets in coordination with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, a total of 30 federal or state-listed protected species were identified as having the potential to occur within the project area. Of these species, the agencies determined that the proposed project may affect, but is not likely to adversely affect, 6 federal species, including American alligator, eastern indigo snake, Florida bonneted bat, wood stork, Audubon's crested caracara, and the snail kite. 2 federally listed species, the Florida scrub jay and the Florida panther, may be affected and are likely to be adversely affected. 1 state-listed species, the gopher tortoise, may be affected but is not likely to be adversely affected. To comply with Section 7 of the Endangered Species Act of 1973 as amended, the FDOT has committed to reinitiating consultation with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service during the project's design and permitting phase for the Florida scrub jay, Florida panther, and all other species for which a may affect but is not likely to adversely affect determination has been made. As part of the coordination with both U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, the FDOT will implement various measures to minimize and mitigate impacts to any federal or state protected species. Furthermore, the FDOT will continue to consult with environmental agencies in future project phases to meet all environmental permitting and construction requirements. The project team has evaluated this project for wetlands involvement. The proposed improvements will result in approximately 30 acres of wetland and other surface water impacts. The recommended alternative includes all practicable measures to minimize harm to wetlands. Wetland impacts resulting from construction of this project will be mitigated to meet Florida statutes and the U.S. Code. The project has been evaluated for potential floodplain involvement. Even though the project is located within the 100-year floodplain, there will be no significant change in flood risk, and minimal impacts are expected to the 100-year floodplain. A water quality impact evaluation was performed. The proposed stormwater facilities will be designed to meet the current requirements of the South Florida Water Management District. The project team evaluated effects of traffic noise associated with the recommended alternative. None of the 100 evaluated noise-sensitive receptor sites along the project corridor are predicted to experience future traffic noise levels that approach, meet, or exceed the noise abatement criteria for their respective activity category. None of the evaluated sites will experience a substantial increase in traffic noise above the existing conditions as a result of the proposed project. Therefore, noise abatement measures were not considered for the noise-sensitive sites identified adjacent to the recommended alternative. Traffic noise specialists are here tonight to answer any questions. The project is located in an area which is designated attainment for all of the national ambient air quality standards under the criteria provided in the Clean Air Act. Therefore, the Clean Air Act conformity requirements do not apply to this project, and no significant impact is expected on air quality. This project is expected to improve traffic flow by adding capacity to relieve congestion, which should reduce operational greenhouse gas emissions. Minimal short-term air quality effects may be caused from construction of the proposed improvements, such as dust from earthwork or unpaved roads and smoke from open burning. The FDOT will adhere to all state and local regulations and to the standard specifications for road and bridge construction. A contamination screening analysis was performed for the project, which identified 28 sites with the potential for medium contamination involvement and 3 sites with the potential for high contamination involvement. The FDOT will further evaluate the potential contamination risks of these sites during the design phase of the project. Before construction, specially trained crews will address contamination in these areas as required. Locations of these sites are shown on the concept plans displayed this evening. A cultural resource assessment survey was conducted in accordance with the National Historic Preservation Act of 1966 and Florida statutes. Archaeologists and historians identified no archaeological sites and 46 historic resources in the project area. One resource is individually eligible for listing in the National Register of Historic Places, the Immokalee Ice Plant. The State Historic Preservation Officer determined that there would be no adverse effect to the ice plant, and no significant historic properties identified would be adversely affected by the proposed improvements. The project team examined the project area for publicly owned properties that may be affected under Section 4F of the Department of Transportation Act of 1966. The Immokalee Airport Park and the Immokalee Airport Conservation Easement are Section 4F resources. The recommended alternative will require permanent use of approximately 0.27 acre of the Immokalee Airport Park and 4.45 acres of the Immokalee Airport Conservation Easement. These impacts will occur at the edge of each property. Based upon the overall minor level of impact and implementation of proposed mitigative actions to address potential impacts, the project will not adversely affect the activities, features, and attributes of each property in meeting its intended Section 4F purpose. As such, FDOT is pursuing a Section 4F de minimis finding for the potential impacts to each resource. This information is available for review at the public hearing tonight. The hearing provides the opportunity for public comment on the project's use of the Immokalee Airport Park and the Immokalee Airport Conservation Easement. As determined by the Natural Resources Conservation Service under the U.S. Department of Agriculture, or USDA, the recommended alternative impacts approximately 160.5 acres of farmlands of prime or unique importance. Due to the project effects being below the significance threshold, no further consideration of protection is needed, no additional corridors need to be evaluated, and no additional coordination with the Natural Resources Conservation Service is required. Construction of the recommended alternative will require additional right-of-way. One of the unavoidable consequences on a project such as this is the necessary relocation of families or businesses. On this project, we anticipate the relocation of one business, however, no residential relocations are expected. All right-of-way acquisition will be conducted in accordance with Florida Statute 339.09 and the Federal Uniform Relocation Assistance and Real Property Acquisition Policies Act of 1970, commonly known as the Uniform Act. Brochures that describe the FDOT's Relocation Assistance Program and Right-of-Way Acquisition Program are available. FDOT right-of-way representatives are available this evening to assist you and discuss the program. An evaluation matrix showing a detailed comparison of the recommended alternative and the no-build alternative is provided in the project handout and is on display here this evening. The matrix shows potential effects to the social, cultural, natural, and physical environments and identifies preliminary costs. The estimated cost for the recommended alternative includes $16.4 million for design, $1.8 million for wetland mitigation, $4.4 million for wildlife habitat mitigation, $227,000 for relocation of intelligent transportation system facilities, $18.3 million for right-of-way acquisition, $109.2 million for construction, and $16.4 million for construction engineering and inspection. The total estimated cost for the recommended alternative is $166.7 million in 2018 dollars. The proposed improvements to State Road 29 are consistent with the Collier's MPO's 2040 Long-Range Transportation Plan and Transportation Improvement Program, or TIP. FDOT's adopted 5-year work program currently includes funding for the design of segments of State Road 29 from Sunnyland Nursery Road to State Road 82, but does not include funding for right-of-way acquisition or construction. In addition, funding for future phases of the segment of State Road 29 from Oilwell Road to Sunnyland Nursery Road is not included in the TIP or 5-year work program. Efforts are currently underway to ensure that this segment is funded. Your comments are a very important part of the decision-making process. This public hearing is your opportunity to provide comments on the recommended alternative and the no-build alternative. In a few minutes, you will have the opportunity to provide oral comments that will be transcribed by a court reporter. Also, you can submit written comments in the comment boxes provided this evening or send them to FDOT later via mail or email. Comments must be postmarked by November 26, 2018, so that we can complete our study documentation. You may send comments to Gwen G. Pipkin, Project Manager, at the address shown here or by email. You may also visit the project website at www.sr29collier.com and provide comments by November 26, 2018. Comments will be evaluated and, where feasible, may be incorporated into the conceptual design. A final determination of the recommended alternative will be submitted to the FDOT Office of Environmental Management for approval, which is expected in the spring of next year. FDOT representatives are here this evening to answer your questions, listen to your comments, and seek your input. They're wearing name badges for identification. We invite you to speak with them and to review the aerial photos, poster board displays, and project information handout. This public hearing is held in accordance with the Federal Highway Act of 1968 as amended, Chapter 23, United States Code 128, Title 40, Code of Federal Regulations, Parts 1500 to 1508, Title 23, Code of Federal Regulations, Part 771, Section 120.525, Florida Statutes, Section 335.199, Florida Statutes, Section 339.155, Florida Statutes, Rule 1497 of the Florida Administrative Code, and the National Environmental Policy Act of 1969 as amended. It also fulfills the requirements of Executive Orders 11988, Floodplain Management, and 11990 pertaining to protection of wetlands, whereas the opportunity for early public review and comment is offered for projects proposed to be located in floodplains and wetlands. Floodplain involvement and wetland impacts are associated with this project. The hearing was advertised and is held consistent with federal and state requirements. The hearing is conducted in accordance with the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990 and with the Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and related statutes. Anyone who feels that they have been discriminated against with regard to race, color, religion, sex, age, national origin, disability, or family status may complete one of the forms located at the sign-in table and mail the completed form to the address listed on the poster board. Thank you for your interest and participation in the State Road 29 Project Development and Environment Study public hearing, and for taking the time to join us this evening.